All right, so um, welcome to the second session of just me doing stuff on the computer. Decided to figure out how to blur the background today for my webcam. It's not that good yet, but I'm gonna practice and see what I can do without a green screen. It's funny because I think I streamed this off of a mini PC and like the integrated GPU and the CPU is like going nuts right now just by applying this background filter. But um, thankfully, that I have a little Elgato thing to capture all this stuff, so it's not too bad. So today, let's just set up the development environment a little bit and just make this PC feel more like home on Linux. So um, yeah, usually the first thing I like to do is I like to just make sure that my time here is AM PM because I'm American and I read time uh, differently than the rest of the world. So I bring up the settings here, and I think it's on the system, and I think it's on daytime. I will change that to AM PM, and then I also like to display the weekday here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically install some software, update stuff a little bit, and install a code editor, right? And I don't know what kind of development I want to do yet to show you guys, but I think JavaScript, Python, maybe some like Bash scripting, sysadmin stuff. Since I'm learning that right now, uh, would be pretty cool, right? So the pattern I usually do when I have a fresh install, and maybe this is not the ideal way to do things, but it's how I've gotten used to doing. And again, uh, not super expert on everything. So I usually like to update my packages, right? That are, I guess, like listed by default in Ubuntu. So I usually do something like sudo apt update, and then that'll like update everything. Yeah, and then after that, when it's done, I usually do a sudo apt upgrade to upgrade the packages. So let's just kind of make that bigger. So I'll just hit yes. And maybe like, dash Y would be easier to remove these prompts, right? Internet's a little slow today. Let's see. Oh, there we go. And I think it's helpful to maybe just like script some of this. So let's just get started with that once we have a code editor. But thankfully, everything's going to be in the history, right? So um, maybe I should show you guys that. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. So let's say like I install a bunch of stuff, right? And then I want to look at the history of like commands that I've written. Whoa, I'm coming out blurry. Okay. I can simply just look into the bash history file, and then that'll actually have all the commands that I've run in, I guess, of all time. And that would be helpful for us to like script some of this like post installation stuff. So I think it's just in our home directory, bash history. Yeah. So, so you see, every time I log out, right, all the current history I have will be dumped into this file, right? So I forgot what the command was. Just history. Yeah. So history. So I've already done apt update, apt upgrade, and then I've tried to display my bash history. So again, like this bash history file won't be updated with these new commands here until I believe I logged out. So, but it's good to have all this here right now. Okay, so the next thing I usually do is I install a list of software. So that would just be like basic development tools. So I do sudo apt install. Like the first thing I always usually do is I install curl. I also install Vim and build essential, right? And then I think that's like what I usually need to just get started in a basic manner. So yeah, so I just actually let me do it where it doesn't prompt, right? So like let's say I don't want to have this prompt at me when I do a sudo apt install. I can just do sudo apt install all my packages here, and then I do a -y, and then it'll just totally go for it. So Build Essential contains all like the C, C++ stuff. I guess general compiling things. And curl is curl, and then Vim is kind of like my preferred editor in the terminal. I know some people like Nano, but I actually got started way back in Vim rather than Nano for some odd reason. I have a long story about that one. But basically, the gist is that when I like going into college, I didn't know what it was like programming, right? And I was told that, and I think someone was being very sarcastic, um, and I believed them too. Someone said that real programmers program in Vim. So I spent like my entire college career, like just barely being able to use Vim and doing all my homework in Vim. I never really got super good at it, but I do know some stuff from Vim because of that. So actually, the meme of not knowing how to quit Vim doesn't really hit with me because I think that was like one of the first things I learned how to do without even going into it. Right? I don't know how I learned that, but yeah. Anyway, so I have all that installed, and the next thing I usually like to get is Node.js of some sort, right? And I like to use something called Volta to help me manage my Node.js versions. Even though most of the time I only use like one, which is like usually the latest LTS, right? But it's just nice to have in case I need to go back to like an older version for something. So I'll just fire up my web browser here. I don't have a specific preference right now. So I usually do like Volta Node.js. It is like volta.sh. It's like right here, the first result. And yeah, you have to execute this bash script that you get. Well, you download using curl, pipe it into bash, and then that'll install Volta, right? Once you kind of refresh your, I guess, shell environment. And then when you have Volta ready, you can just do Volta install node. That will by default install the latest LTS, I think, or the current LTS. And then once you've done that, you can finally start using Node. So like I usually generally try my best to be very careful about scripts I run because I just don't want to pipe in anything, right? But I generally think this is safe. So yeah. So I'll just copy and paste this to get Node. So right now I don't have Node installed, right? So like if I do Node D, I don't have Node.js, right? And I don't want to like apt install Node.js too because that's going to be like an older version, right? I want a version that is relatively recent and also something that I can control with Volta. So if I just do Control Shift V to paste in the command I just copied and pasted from, pipe in the bash, it'll just install Volta this way. So that reading the output here, I'll say installing the latest version of Volta. Okay, there's no existing, right? and then it just finishes the installation and updates the user profile settings. Okay, so it updates the Volta directory. So when it says update user profile settings, I'm guessing that it adds like Volta entries into bash rc, right, for the shell environment. And then that's the reason why it says open a new terminal, start using Volta, right? So if I do Volta, right, oops, sorry, Volta, right, it doesn't, it's not recognized, right? But if I look at my bash rc, I think it's right here, yeah. So there's the paths are right here, export Volta, right? And so if I just did source dot bash rc to refresh my shell environment, and I type Volta again, it finally works. So going back to the documentation right here, it says to do Volta install node, right? So I can just do Volta install node, but I want to stay on the latest LTS, so I just do apt LTS, right? And that'll install Volta. Don't need sudo for this because it actually installs Node.js into your Volta directory, which is the dot Volta right here, your home directory / dot Volta. So it doesn't go anywhere like past your home directory. So that's the reason why you don't really need to use sudo to install. Like the one thing like I want to stress is that you can't like spam sudo for everything because that kind of messes you up over time. Like for example, if you do like sudo volta install node LTS, it may inadvertently create files owned by root, right, and not by you, and then therefore like every time you operate within that directory or files, even though it's in your home directory, you might need to always like preface with sudo for every single command you do there, and that's just like very messy. So it's just good to be mindful about like where you're installing things and like how you're executing the commands. So Volta's installed, right? And I want to check it out by just doing node-v. It's installed. Cool. I also like to use Yarn as my package manager if I was doing development, but to keep things simple, I would just simply use npm, which is built into Node itself. Cool. All right. So we got Node installed. So we've updated our packages. We have upgraded our packages. We have installed curl, build essential, Vim, and we also have Node installed, right? Okay. So the next thing we need is a decent IDE, right? And I like Visual Studio Code, not really an IDE, more like a fancy code editor or text editor. But yeah, I really like it because it's something I'm used to. When especially as a former web developer, I guess, since I'm not doing web development anymore professionally. Um, I'm still trying to get used to saying that, right? Like I've been doing web or web related things for like over a decade, and just this year that's all that has changed. But that's why I'm here now, right? So um yeah, I'll get Visual Studio Code, right? Just go back to my web browser. Oops, Visual Studio Code. Same thing. So I'll download this, right? I'll just download the DEB, the Debian package, right? Which is what Ubuntu is based on. Um, okay, so that's done. All that is needed to be done is install it. And how do you install DBs, right? How do you install these Debian packages? So if I were to go and open up my files from the GUI, look at my downloads folder, I have this deb file. Like I like to install deb files from the terminal, right? And so all I need to do is just navigate there, right? So I go cd, change directory, tilde, downloads. So tilde here means your home directory, right? So it's like kind of like a substitution for this path here, right? Home Roger downloads. Okay, But then, like, to get really fast, like really quickly to your home directory, all you had to do is just use tilde and then downloads. So then if I did pwd, which is to print the current working directory, I would see that I am in home Roger downloads. So I do ls to list all the files. I see that I have my code package, and since again it's a deb file, I can just do sudo apt install current directory code blah 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 .deb. So I'll do that, and it'll install Visual Studio Code. Okay, so how do we find it? Well, we just go to the overview, and we'll type Visual Studio Code, and we have it right there. So run that, and it's a program that I access a lot, so I am going to pin this, and I'll pin it right here. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna like arrange the order of this, and I'm just gonna get rid of some stuff that I don't use, or we probably won't use, like Thunderbird. Oh, I don't need help. Oh, I'm terminal, alright. So maybe this. It'll be like my second most accessed thing. I'll keep the web browser there, and then I don't need LibreOffice Writer, but I do want like a quick text editor, right? So I'll just open up a text editor and I'll just add it to my dash. And then store can stay, and that's about it. What is this? Computer needs to restart. Okay, I'll just restart later. Okay, so I have Visual Studio Code here, and the next thing I like to do for my development computers is I like to create like a code folder to store all my projects in my home directory, right? So I'll go back to my terminal, and then I'll just go real quick back to my home directory, and then I'm gonna make dir, so mkdir, make a directory, and I like to do -p, so that means like if it doesn't exist, just create it, or if it doesn't exist, create it. So that doesn't make sense, right? Because we're making a directory, but it exists. But we like to do that in case if you're actually you're trying to create a directory that is like several levels deep, right? So let's say you do have a code folder, but then inside that directory you have like a Roger folder, and then you want to create that inside that Roger folder you want to create like some other directory. Well, that some other directory it's going to fail creating if the Roger directory does not exist. So if you do a -p, then you do code /Roger/some directory. With a -p, it will create not only the some directory, but on top of that, it will create the Roger. So I like to do it out of habit. So since I'm already on top of my home directory, and how I can tell is with right here, right there. Yeah. Can't highlight it, but yeah, right there, I can tell. All I have to do, right, is just do code, right? By ls, I'll see code is here, okay? And then I can just then change directory into it, and then I'll make another one, right? I don't know, what should we call it? Average dev. Yeah, let's call it average dev. Okay, so now I have a folder, right? And that's going to be a future Git repository, but we'll just store it locally for now. Hopefully I don't lose anything. So first thing I'm going to do is open that folder just to see if things are working. I'll go to my code directory that I had created, and then I'll open up this folder. So now it says, do you want to trust the authors of the files in this folder? Yes, I also want to just trust everything up in code. I don't know if that's the proper practice, but yeah. I don't like this welcome page. I wanted to just stop saying stuff. How do I do that? I think it's in settings, right? Settings. Welcome. Yeah. Welcome page. Open on install. When enable. No. Oh, startup editor. controls which editor is shown at startup if none are restored from the previous session. If none, also if we didn't have any existing editors from the last time we were running Visual Studio Code. So I don't want to show welcome page. I just want to show none. Right? I don't want anything. Okay. So if I were to just do that and start it up again, cool. And I'm opened on my average dev folder. So now going back to terminal, right? So if I change directory into average dev, I have this blank folder, like this empty folder, right? I'm not gonna make a Git repo just yet. I'm just going to initialize it with some things like readme, right? So I'm going to then just do touch readme.md, or you can just add the file using ufile in the code editor. So just do that, and then I'm gonna also create a git ignore for I guess Node.js. Let's see. Let's see. What is it called? Node.js git ignore, right? Node. It's called Node. The name is called Node, right? So how I like to do this is I like to actually do something called npx git ignore, right? And then I do Node, and then when I do that, it's going to install the git ignore package, and then it will then create a git ignore file with Node.js, right? So it'll ignore all this Node.js nonsense in here up the directory. Not sure if that's like the best place to put it yet, but I mean, this is what this adventure is all about. Just me doing stuff on a computer, right? Okay, so I'm gonna take a break from this terminal, and I'm going to actually try to start doing stuff in Visual Studio Code now. So again, like what you have just seen me do, like where I update my package lists, upgrade my packages, install these basic tools. Like a lot of that can be automated, right? Like that, those first few steps. And why don't we just like get started in terms of like automating something like that, right? And so all I had to do is create a new folder. Let's just create some sort of folder called tools, right? And then we can create inside that folder scripts, okay? And then inside the scripts, let's create a new file, right? Call it host install, right? .sh. So a shell script that will basically be a post installation script for our operating system, our computer, right? Let me change the font size here so that it's easier to follow going forward. Yeah, font size. I'm going to do 18, maybe 20. Let's do 20. Hello. Yeah. Is that easy to see? I don't trust it. I want to go a little bigger. Maybe 22? Okay. We'll adjust once I watch the video. Alright. So basically we want to start this bash script as the script as a bash script. So it'll be a pound bang /bin/bash, right? That'll tell whatever that's executing the script that we want to use the bash REPL or bash shell, whatever, to execute the next commands, the next few commands that follow it, right? So if this is like node, it would have been like, you know, I don't know, I think it was like Volta node, whatever, yeah. But today we're sticking with bin dash for this bash script, okay? Okay, so looking at the commands that I wrote when I first started this video, I did an apt update, and then I did an apt upgrade, and then I did this apt install curl vim build essential, right? And I think that's actually maybe enough. Maybe we should do Volta. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we could do that too. But yeah, let's just do this simple few lines first. And so here, what we want to do is simply do sudo apt update, right? So that's one line. And we do sudo apt upgrade. And I think it asked us for something, so we do -y, right, to just automatically input yes. And then once we're done with that, we did this sudo apt install curl bin build essential -y. So I'll just copy that and I'll just paste it here, right? And that'll get us like the most basic, like bare development environment. Because then what ends up happening is that if I wanted to install, let's say Volta, right? Going back to Volta, right? At least I have curl now, right? To actually get those files, right? And so, think about it, right? We could actually automate this thing too, right? But then the hard part would be the Volta install part, because once we execute this, we actually don't have Volta in our environment yet. So we can't just say Volta, right? But we can do, instead of just saying Volta install node at LTS, we can actually provide the full path of Volta, right? So we did, I don't know, maybe which Volta, right? We can actually say, instead of saying Volta install node at LTS, we can say something like home, right? Dot Volta bin Volta, right? Install node at LTS. We can do that instead, and that'll guarantee Volta to be available at the time once we install it with our curl pipe into bash command, right? So that'll give us node. Yeah, so let's just do that. So I like in the shell script to actually start commenting, right? So I'll say this: get the basic dependencies set up, right? And here I'll say install Volta, and then we'll say volta.sh, right? So our command here is going to be the same thing that so the same command, right, that we found here, right? But we have it in our terminal, which is here. Okay, so we'll just copy that, paste, right? And then after that, once it's done, we're going to install node, right? Install node JS. You know what? Let's just call it node. That's how everyone calls it now. Install node using Volta from the absolute path, right? So we'll say home, which is, this is like the variable to our home directory, dot Volta, right? Dot bin, dot Volta, install node at LTS. I think that's the command that we came up with, right? Let's see, did I submit it? No, I didn't, but it's okay. Home dot Volta bin Volta, yeah. So that is here, and then install node at LTS, install node at LTS is right there too. Cool. Anything else? I think that's good. That's good for just getting basic node installed. Okay. So I think I am pretty happy with this script, so I'll just save that, right? And another thing I like is I like to have some sort of like virtual machine thing that I can use to like test things with. I know like people like to use containers and all, but I feel like that's like, I guess, too much for me to remember all the time. We'll get to like the whole Docker thing maybe one day, right? But for like quick, like I like to keep like a VM image and I just like load that one up and then just do like all my like shell scripting testing so that you know I yeah I always have like a reassurance that this will work when the time comes, right? So this is a good basic script, right, that I have, and so I think before we leave off, let's actually install some sort of I guess we'll call it type 2 hypervisor, right? I can install QEMU, right? QEMU is, maybe I should start notes. Let's start a docs folder, and then let's put the date, right? This will be Sunday, July 28th, right? So I can install QEMU, right? But um, that, I guess, I mean, if you're watching this and you have patience to watch me talk this long, I'm pretty sure that um, you want to kind of get there with me, right? So in the meantime, let's install something easier, then that's like more visual, right? So let's install VirtualBox instead. Okay, so we'll have VirtualBox. Um, let's make this an MD file. So the reason why I keep ending up in the caps lock state is because I usually map my caps lock key to control, which I think I will just do right now. So other thing I like, which I completely forgotten, maybe let's adjust the script, is let's do GNOME tweaks. So what is GNOME tweaks? All right, so GNOME tweaks, let me just install that. Is like a tweak UI, like an user interface enhancer for GNOME. So if I were to start it up, it allows me to kind of remap some keys and things like that, right? So for example, you could like change your fonts here, and you can actually change like your cursor look, icons, things like that. Sound theme, mouse stuff, keyboard. So I think if I were to go additional layout options, I see caps lock behavior. I'm just going to say make caps lock an additional control. So if I just select that, now caps lock will always be controlled for me. Windows, let's see. I don't want to attach modal dialogues. I want to center new windows. And there we go. That should be more homely going forward. Okay. All right. So I have updated script. Now let's go back to our notes, right? VirtualBox for virtual machines. Right. So let's do this. We need everything found in tools, scripts, right? And then VirtualBox for virtual machines. Okay. And let's just save it. It works now. Okay, so let's search for a VirtualBox. And it's from Oracle, so we can just download that. It's free. So let's see if it even works with Ubuntu 24. Yes, it works for Ubuntu 24. So we'll download that. And again, it's going to be a bigger download. Okay. How long have I been going? 33 minutes. Okay. Okay, so let's just do this. Sudo apt install. Again, this is how you install deb files. Current directory, VirtualBox. I'm sure there's another way to do this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never file roller. I don't know. I never. Anyway. So maybe if I just simply double click, it'll ask me. But I've never tried. So. Okay, so I'm going to install VirtualBox, and then that should allow me to create some more virtual machines to do really basic testing with. So cool. So let's do VirtualBox. Yeah, let's pin that. Cool. Okay. Um, can't enumerate USB devices. What does that mean? VirtualBox is not currently allowed to access USB devices. You can change this by adding your user to the VBox users group. Okay, please see the user manual for more detailed explanation. Let's do that. It's a good exercise for us, right? So we want to add our user. So my user is this just uname? Yeah. Well, how do we do it? User. Oops. Sorry. Echo user. Yeah. So my username is Roger. I want to add this user to where is he? VBox users group, right? So how do I do that? So in Linux, we do this. Add a user to a group. Linux, right? That's how you search, right? Add user to a Linux group. Go away. Reject all. Um, okay, so we created this user group. I think it's like user add dash ag or something like that. Yeah, something like this. User mod. Yeah, user mod. So sudo user mod and then dash a dash g, the group name, username. But I think if I don't provide the username, it's by default, right? Let's see. Can we list users? Let's do that also to verify. For user, this group for user Linux. Let's see. Groups username. So if I did groups, Roger, I'm in these groups right now. So if I did user add dash, wait, where was I? Oh, user mod dash ag group name. If I just did that, would I actually then be added automatically? Let's see. So do sudo. Do I need sudo? Yes. Sudo user mod ag. Is it VBox users? VBox users. VBox users. Huh. Looks like I need the username, right? Okay. What was it? Groups. Roger. VBox users. Yay. And I think to refresh, right? Refresh adding a user group. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Refresh user groups Linux. Reload Linux group user signs are logging out. Necessary cookies only. I think it's new group name. That's what I remember. So new grp and then vbox users. So grp vbox users. Okay. So if I exit VirtualBox and start it up again, will I get the same error? Oh, I still do. Do I care about the USB devices? Your user to the VBox users group. How about I just log out? New group name. Is it because For the shell, let's see. Is it VirtualBox? Yeah, let's see if we do this. Well, it doesn't complain. Okay, so we did it right. Okay, we'll just use it from here for now. Well, let's do this. Hey, it works. Okay, great. Whatever. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. We're gonna create real quick a virtual machine, install like a copy of Ubuntu right after downloading it. Let's just start downloading it now. I should have had it, but Ubuntu 24 LTS. So let's just pre-download it for next time, and then wow, that's slow. Okay, so we'll just do desktop image, and we'll start. Yeah, we want to probably pre-download that. Okay, so yeah, let's just do it next time where we will create a virtual machine, quickly install Ubuntu, and just see this in action. Just see the script in action. It'll be our first programming thing we do together, right? So, thank you, everybody.